Azam Part 110. For an even more graphic description of the events of that period, I rely on Swami Shraddhanand's own version. The 4th of April 1919 was a red letter day in Delhi. It was the first Friday after indiscriminate shooting, and congregational prayers were to be offered in the great Jamia Masjid. A notice had been sent round by the responsible Mussalmans inviting the public to join memorial meeting call for invoking God's blessing on the Hindu-Muslim martyrs. As usual, I was making a round of the city when scores of Hindu gentlemen told me that our Muslim brethren insisted on Hindus going inside the masjid and joining the memorial meeting, and asked my advice as to the course they should adopt. The reason of the inquiry was this: non-Muslim had no right to entry in the great mosque without sanctions of mosque managing committee, especially when namaz was going on. I asked them to wait and went to consult Mr. Abdurrahman Vakil, whose office was close by. Mr. Abdurrahman advised me not to go without consulting the Hakim Sahib. As Hakim Sahib was not at home, I returned to my ashram, determined not to go out until namaz and memorial service were over. I was busy writing when by 1 p.m. about 50 Mussalman gentlemen boarded my humble lodging and lovingly forced me down. A tonga was waiting. In thick the way they requisitioned several conveyances, one faster than the other, till an empty motor car was found, and I was then hurried on and reached the southern steps of Jummah Masjid. I saw some people about to come down, but when they saw me ascending the steps, shouts of Mahatma Gandhi ki Jai, shouts of Mahatma Gandhi ki Jai, the Hindu Mussalman ki Jai, went forth, and all of them turned. The gathering inside could not be less than 1,000. I was going to sit behind the last man. Other Mussalman brethren came running and took me inside the building, and then outside a permanent wooden pulpit stood for the preacher's use. Maulvi Abdul Majid was addressing the audience. He stopped waiting for me to go up. I hesitated. 100 voices urged me to go up. After ascending 2 steps, I again hesitated. The huge audience was up in its legs, and with one voice called upon me to go up. When I reached the pulpit, they sat down. I expected Maulvi Abdul Majid to go on with his sermon, but he stopped with the remark, "You have heard what the Quran Majid says about the blood of the martyrs. Swami Shraddhanand will now tell you that Holy Veda, which is believed to be the revelation according to our Hindu brethren, inculcates the same teaching." It was a sudden call. I had to stand up and recited the Vedic verse which inculcated the fatherhood and motherhood of God. The script is there in the content. I called upon the huge audience to bear testimony to the innocence of martyrs, and ended with calling upon them to fall at the feet of him who was the father and the mother of all. Those who were present can describe the scene, and when I repeated Om Shanti Amin, the whole audience followed me, one over-berating voice. It was an inspiring spectacle. I came down and left with the audience, whose faces showed how impressed they were. This was followed by Hindu sadhus addressing from Muslim pulpits in masjids, and Muslims divines addressing mixed audiences in Hindu temples. In all parts of the country, in spite of all that has occurred after that grand scene, I am still impressed with its memory, and am living in that hope that clouds of doubt will disappear and the bright light of the sun of faith and truth will shine forth again with all its splendor. Inside this beautiful scene was being acted, and outside the great mosque of armored cars and military and the police were provokingly evidence. but the people exhorted by their leaders kept their temper admirably.